So we're back for episode 2 of Oh My Aching Vagina, where we talk all about menstruation and things that affect us as we're getting older as women, and there's lots of stuff that people don't talk about. And Nina has been so gracious to join us to share her experience. She's a friend of mine that I work with, and she has had really heavy periods, insanely heavy periods, and has functioned amazingly enough as a manager and a world traveler and a waitress with this super heavy periods. When did it start? How many years is this period?
I think about 7 years ago.
So 7 years bleeding. How much and for how long and how often?
Yeah, so it varied. I would say before that I had regular cycles, and they actually weren't too much of a big deal. Just like 5-day cycles. Day 2 and day 3, a little bit
kind
heavy,
of like me,
but
okay.
Not a big deal. And I didn't have cramps, no trouble. So then it started.
Even in your youth, that was like your whole the usual.
Yeah,
just an average period.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, no weird, no clots, no nothing. And then it started getting longer and heavier. And then it just started to become like a problem. I remember when I went to India, it was like 5 years ago, and it was really awkward to travel because it was just so intense that I could be sitting like in the back of a taxi or a car or whatever and just bleed right through.
Oh my goodness.
And so just those, like, remembering those small sort of traumatic events, that would have been sort of the start of it getting really a problem. You know, and I went when I was in India, I went to see a homeopath. That was one of the things I tried, and she gave me a year's worth of like pills to take. Different.
What was her take on why it was happening? Just regular, this is a menopausal thing that happens, or did she, like, the stuff she gave you? What was that?
What angle was it coming from?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I had a long talk with her, and we talked about, many different things about how I felt about, like, I don't know, not having a baby, my sexuality, different things like that.
Did she get into diet and all that stuff too?
Yeah, I don't remember. I remember it was a very involved discussion. I remember it was personal because my mom was there too.
But it was kind of like the beginning, would you find, of like seeking all that kind of help?
No, I had been to a naturopath, Blossom Bidding here for maybe 2 years.
Oh yeah, because this was 5 years in already.
Yeah, so we had started, like, we did like herbs and tinctures and,
So each time was something changing and getting better, even if it was just a little thing?
Not really.
Okay, so just the bleeding didn't stop. So were you already by this point, or not yet, sort of weak? Did you ever feel like, oh my God, I'm bleeding so much, I can't?
Not until, to sort of fast forward through it, the second big trip in Asia, it had come to a point where I was bleeding every day for a year.
Oh my aching vagina, literally.
And it was a very heavy, awkward, horrible, uncontrollable, like there's no I could contain it kind of bleeding. And so then this trip was kind of, had planned, and everyone was like, you shouldn't go, and my parents were like, you really shouldn't go.
Oh.
And I just wanted to go, as if I wasn't going to go. But that
meanwhile,
was
you're working and waitressing and managing and
countless incidents.
Oh my God! I can't believe the way you've been running around.
It's horrible.
Well, that's going on, and nobody knows barely that's going on. You're contending with all that. This is the thing. Is like
I know
all of us women here, and especially these heavy bleeders. You don't even know what they're dealing with while they're just a smile on your face.
Yeah. It's not something you can talk about to almost anybody.
I know.
Like, not even,
Isn't
I find...
that crazy? Why?
Girlfriends even are, like, kind of astounded because they don't understand, or they don't have that problem, and they think you're exaggerating.
Or they don't want to hear about it. They just fucking don't want to hear about it.
Yeah.
I know. It's weird to me. But that's okay, because we're talking about it, and this is a good outlet for you. Okay, and so then... Where'd you go from there? What were you thinking at?
Yeah, well, by that point, by the end, I was pretty feeling
the end of the second trip,
hopeless. Yeah. Well, I came back and I had a blood transfusion shortly after I got back.
Whoa, okay, and my sister had one too.
Yeah.
At one
point.
And
that was I kind of knew when it was time to go to the hospital. I was having, when I get up, I'd be so dizzy I could barely
I've heard
and
that.
I was like called Tim. I was like, should I drive home? He's like, you probably shouldn't, but I did. And then 2 hours later, went to the hospital because it was just, and they were like, you came at the right time.
Good, her too, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But,
and this is when? How many years ago?
So this would have been, okay, I lost the thread a bit. 3 years ago, I guess, because three years ago is when I had my Asia trip.
Okay.
And then blood transfusion. Then I tried, so in between I tried some medical, I tried a lot of sort of alternative therapies.
Yes.
One of them was allergy testing. And then I also tried some things that the doctor or gynecologist prescribed. Because I was going that route too. I was open to anything.
Yeah, of course.
Like, whatever
We're
works.
just dying to find a solution.
There's one pill called cyclocapron, which Sarah has had success with, and she still takes it every month. That didn't really work for me. It did make some change. It kind of made the blood all like sticky and thick.
Oh,
it's kind of gross, but
wow.
But it still didn't. It still was a big problem.
Is it like a thickening? That's what the point of it is?
I think it's a blood. Yeah, I think so.
Like make thickening.
Yeah.
Okay, weird.
And then I tried another one called
talk about experimentation.
And these are things I would never normally take.
But it's on their part too. It's like all like, wow, this works for that. Let's see if it'll work for this. What about like what other things were they suggesting that you were like, no friggin' way, anything like that?
Well, I ended up getting, so then after the blood transfusions, I tried this other pill called Fibristol. that did absolutely nothing. Then they were like, kind of presenting me with my options, and endometrial ablation is what I got done. So basically, they burn the inside of your uterus.
Cauterized.
Yeah.
Didn't work though.
It didn't work.
Holy
weird thing.
But then you had a huge success. I remember meeting Lila.
Yeah.
Some big things started to change and shift and happen.
Yeah, so after
How old are you now, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm 45.
Okay.
After that operation, we waited 3 months, and then my gynecologist like, okay, it didn't work. It would have worked by now, so, and he said, hysterectomy, that's the only thing we can do.
Hey.
So that was probably the low point because I really didn't want to do that.
Yeah.
I just feel, I don't know.
Well, it changes everything about your whole everything. It can take your oomph right out of you, and it's just like a bomb when you could just use a little, like it's just way too much. It's way overkill.
So I remembered Lila had gone to her in the past, just a couple sessions, and she's a pretty radical woman. But she does a lot of things. She does acupuncture. She's a Qigong teacher. She does like muscle testing, homeopathy, lots of supplements. So she kind of just like attacks you with, she takes a multi-prong approach.
Yeah.
All at the same time.
Yes.
And so I got started with her. We did a parasite cleanse.
Yeah.
I guess some women bleed because of parasites.
Well, that's worth checking. It's always worth checking into, and it makes sense.
Yeah, and then I did a gluten-free diet, dairy-free, and we just did a bunch of supplements, and I did qigong. She did acupuncture on me.
Yeah.
And I noticed a change, like.
In what way? Like less bleeding, or just feeling better in general, or all of the above?
But definitely noticed less bleeding.
Wow.
It was almost within a month I had noticed.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
You cannot underestimate, I'm telling you, at our age, I think all that stuff radically has to change, and it does, and we get there somehow. Like just foods and things we don't need, and you know what I mean? Just changing all that, simplifying, and because it's just makes it easier for the body to do all the stuff it needs to do to make its transformation. And I don't know, I just feel like I need to eat less than I used to. And,
Yeah, I mean, things like being in balance and stress and all that, I think all that has a part in it.
Yeah.
And she's really made me more aware of that, more in tune, and recognizing it quicker.
Yeah, and
know?
like you can't stay out of balance like when we were 20, where you can stay up so late and then work and not get any sleep. I find now it's like
you notice
shows up really fast, and then it makes those things harder, right?
Yeah.
So I just always want to, make the different physical things easier for myself. Also, whatever at work, if there's a strong guy, I'm like, can you lift that thing for me? I don't bother trying to do all that anymore.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't actually know what happened or what worked. I still don't have an easy time of it, but it's way better than before, and I'm not in danger of like losing all my, life force.
Yeah.
Bleeding it all away. So
deep down, what things do you think about it? Like, what does it make you think?
Well, definitely like what I was just saying about Lila sort of helping me get in touch with that stuff and getting more in balance.
Okay, all of it.
I think like a lot of times the body can heal itself from whatever.
Oh, yeah.
And you need to sort of gather up
what it needs.
The means and, maybe cleanse or, I don't know if it had to do with the parasites or whatever. Like, and I was on that diet, but I'm not anymore. And it's not like my periods have gone back or...
You haven't even bled consistently.
So now it's... it's pretty random.
You've had it, but it's random and it's not as long.
Random. Well, I had it actually last month. I had it for a month straight. But it wasn't heavy. It was just constant.
Yeah. See, but that's what happens to me now. So maybe you're just going to normalize, and maybe that's an okay thing for this age that you are, because that kind of happens to me, but it's not overwhelming or crazy heavy. It's just a pain in the ass because you're always bleeding. I don't think a lot of people understand when I say someone's bleeding heavily. Like, I've been bleeding pretty heavily, but Nina bleeds really heavy, and same with my sister and our friend Sarah and a lot of other ladies I know. And I don't think you understand what they're going through. Tell me about what it like.
Yeah.
What's a heavy bleeding constantly and on things?
So there's this kind of gushing and clotting where things can come out a lot at one time.
Just a sudden,
and it's not even necessarily random. It could be constant. So where you've got like a big clot, like the size of like an egg, you know what I mean, or something like that, coming out at once.
So it's just coming off the sides of the walls, the lining of your uterus, or something. I'm
not sure how those clots are
the
formed.
The doctors, you don't know from.
No, it's weird. They don't. Yeah.
And then just huge.
So that can be, that when that happens, just comes out, and then that's enough to sort of overwhelm any form of protection you would try to have on. So at that moment, you've got to
deal.
You got to deal, otherwise it rapidly just becomes.
And you were doing it in all, like, every kind of bathroom that could possibly exist the world over. And that in between, rides on bikes and things like that. Hi, Willow.
Yeah, I remember when we were in Bali, and I would try to go to the bathroom, because the best thing would be just like for that stuff to come out while you're on the toilet, as much as possible. Just sit there and like wait for that to happen.
But you just don't know.
But we go walking, and like I remember just like crouching in the rice fields, just because I didn't I was like, hey, I can't, my underwear can no longer sustain this, so I'm gonna like crouch down here and just let the stuff
oh my God, good for you. Yeah. That's amazing. That's what you got to do, and I applaud that, because there's at some points like, what, I'm supposed to feel ashamed and I need help and I can't do anything, and everybody bleeds, and who cares? Actually, Bali's probably the perfect place to do that. They're so not uptight about things, and they all bathe in the nude and all that kind of stuff, like out in the open. So
I think that's what makes like the sense of hopelessness and despair, and it's not like some like disease where you can talk about it to people. Like, back to that, it's like there's nobody to talk to about it.
It's like, you're bleeding, you're a woman, deal with it. Too bad. And it's like,
and
wait till it happens to you.
Hide it. You have to hide all the things. So, even as a waitress, like, kind of keep going to the bathroom, but you can't tell people what's going on.
But I don't hide it anymore. And the older I get, the less I'm inclined. And I do talk about it, and maybe people don't like it, but I don't give a crap anymore.
People don't even want to see like a clean pad.
I know.
Like an unused pad.
Because I'm the one empowered by it. Well, even like the having, it's show like, well, that's like a diaper. People saying that about my underwear. And then someone will see that. And then they'll know you're menstruating. How come it's wrong for them to know you're menstruating? You're a woman. You're allowed. Like, I'm sick of all that. And I'm actually sick of some of these friggin' reusable underwear companies using the same thing. Ew, I don't want to have to sit in my blood, and I don't want it to look like I have a diaper. And they say all those things in their advertising. It's like, screw you.
Yeah.
Us women bleeding
But I am
a lot.
wearing a diaper,
We
so-
need to wear a diaper
Yeah.
and shut up, and who cares, you know? Yeah, good. So people don't quite understand. And, yeah, you need to be able to talk about it. Who cares? It's totally a bodily function. Peeing, pooing, bleeding.
Yeah. Well, and the reason people don't understand is because we don't talk about it. Because nobody talks about it.
Yeah.
So then guys have no idea. Other women have no idea. And
I
you
was
become
just
more
so
alone.
lucky. My mom was so blunt about everything, and I feel like it's made it so that I can do this work. This is exactly smart for me because I'm not uptight in any way, shape, or form. I'm not saying that you're uptight, but I'm saying you're feeling those residuals.
I'm different than you that way, yeah.
You're feeling those residuals of like you're not supposed to talk about it, and I kind of know you're not supposed to, but I don't really care.
Yeah.
Because I never was in an atmosphere to not talk about things.
Right.
My mom was like, "Your vagina," and da-da-da, and I was like, don't say that.
But now you're saying it.
I know, exactly. And able to talk about all this stuff, and someone needs to let everybody else feel comfortable and drag them in. Like, you were even reticent to do this a tiny bit.
Yeah.
But now you're probably just like, whatever.
Well, and this is all part of a sort of the getting older. Like, now I'm getting into hot flashes and urinary
me
infections
too.
and different symptoms. And then I think that's another thing that's also not talked about. Maybe more
Not
among
enough,
women, but
yeah.
I mean, the menopause and whatever that entails. I used to think it was just like a turning point, but now I realize it's like 10
you
years.
can't sleep, and you're getting hot
all
flashes.
these different symptoms, and then even afterwards,
restless
and
feet, or long periods, or more periods. Like, I started bleeding more.
more.
Yeah, for sure. It's not terrible, but it's still different. And like my sister was saying last one, I believe there's a whole phase, like, for these underwear, if it's only for that group of women in that 10 years going through that thing, they're amazing. It doesn't even have to suit everybody, because maybe young girls are like, ooh, it's too big.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand yet how it's going to be. I would have thought the same thing. I used my Diva Cup till the bitter end. And now I can't use it anymore.
Yeah.
So I know all those chicks that are like, oh, I just need my Diva Cup. They're not going to be able to use it soon. They just don't know it yet. So
Yeah, when I'm in Mexico, I do use the cup. I don't like using it, but I'll use it just to go to the beach. But then it's like a short beach trip, you know?
But even
just go,
like, I can
put it on,
only
come
use
back.
it for a day or two in my period. That's what I mean. It's more like that was all I used, and now I can only use it like at those kind of times when I really need it.
Because mine would get full in half an hour. It'd just be like, okay, done.
Yeah, and you can't wear a pad. So, okay, so this is the way it is.
That's the way it is.
When you're bleeding.
Let us tell you.
And we wanted you to know.